everybody. So today we are talking about the next in my top 100 favorite movies of all time. These are my next 10, and we are at number 40 through 31. And this is a really great list. Like, these are such good movies, and they're movies that I could just watch over and over again, and such good variety. And so I'm really excited to tell you about them and to hear what you think of my list. So, all right, number 40, I have Steven Spielberg's Jaws. This is one of my favorite horror movies ever made. I think it is so great at developing its characters and creating mood and tone. And I really love shark movies, and this is, of course, the granddaddy of them all. I think the music is brilliant by John Williams. The way it just like creates tension and tension and tension and tension, and everything about it is just so iconic. I think they just because the shark had so many problems, I think they didn't use it very much, which makes it work so well. 39, I have The Incredibles. We got The Incredibles 2 coming up, which is very exciting. And I love the original film. I think it's actually a really interesting movie about work and how when we're trying to be something that we are not, how just like toxic that situation is and is for Bob. And, when he's finally doing what he's called to do in his life, how it just changes his whole countenance and everything. I love the way the movie shows marriage and a real functioning marriage, and how it shows the fact that yes, they fight, but they're still like a couple and they're still committed to each other. And I think that's actually really good for kids to see and see how like actual functioning families and functioning marriage work. I think it's a very rarity in movies. I think that it is such a great superhero movie with a great villain who has like a compelling motivation and has taken like something good, the idea of him using technology to make his own superpower. That is like good, right? But he takes it to this like dark place because he's killing people and sending weapons to bad people and things like that. So obviously he's bad, but his whole idea of like using your mind to create a superpower is valid and interesting. So I just love it. It's so beautifully animated. The water scenes are so great, and everything about it is just so wonderful. So I hope I like the second one, please. But there you go. The Incredibles, number 39. Number 38, I have Amadeus. And this movie does such a good job creating atmosphere, tone, and creating really complex characters. Somebody like Mozart, there's parts in this movie where you just think he's just so irritating and so difficult, and you totally see why he's driving Salieri crazy. But then you also see these softer moments, and I think that what it does such an interesting job is the way that Salieri allows one person to overtake his life, and even he accomplishes great things, but they're not is his envy of this other person, and just ruins his life. And Mozart is just completely unaware of that this is happening. And so it's just such a really, really wonderful film. All the opera scenes are just beautiful and lush, and it's so well written, probably because it was a play first. 37, I have Singing in the Rain. And Singing in the Rain is so funny. The music is so great. The dancing is so great. You have this beautiful romance, such chemistry between Debbie Reynolds and Gene Kelly. And Donald O'Connor is hilarious in his make him laugh scene. You can't get better than that. The only reason it's not in my top 20 is, I really do love the Broadway ballet scene. I like ballet, so it's really good, but it's a little long and it's a little out of nowhere. And they could have worked it into the story a little bit more, I think. But other than that, it's pretty much perfect. It's great. So I have it at 37. So good. The iconic Singing in the Rain sequence is probably the most iconic musical number in the history of movies. So there you go. 37. Number 36, I have Toy Story, the original Toy Story. I love the original Toy Story. It's another story about envy, and you have this character. I think the script is just about perfect. When you have this character of Woody who there's all of a sudden this new guy in town, and he has to deal with his feelings of envy and frustration. And I love all the voice acting is brilliant, so great. You know, he's like, "You are a toy. You are an action figure." And when Buzz finally realizes that he is actually an action figure, that Woody has been right, it's really quite devastating and very well done. I think that Sid is a really fun villain that a lot of us can relate to. He's kind of creative, and so he's not like really a villain, but in the eyes of the toys, he is, and so that's what makes him fun. And great music by Randy Newman. It's just the best. So I think it has heart to it. 36 is Toy Story. 35, I think I might have the most recent member of this list. It is Paddington and Paddington 2. I really love both of them so much. If you make me pick, I'll pick Paddington 2. I think it's just a tiny bit better just because Hugh Grant is so great as the villain in Paddington 2. And I like Nicole Kidman a lot in the first one, but I love Hugh Grant in the second one. He's so funny. And this sort of making fun of himself as this foppish actor, hilarious. I just think both these movies have such heart with Paddington, and most of these, you know, CGI creatures in the real world are so terrible, like Smurfs and Yogi Bear and stuff like that. But these movies just do it right, and I think it's because he's treated just like any other character. He's not treated as like, oh, what is this thing, and so that makes it really work. And just the dynamic. It's really about this family. I love Hugh Bonneville as the dad. He's so great. Mr. Brown, Sally Hawkins, the best. I really just love the scenes in the prison. He's making the marmalade in the second one. So just delightful. 34, I have Notorious. This is my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie, and that's probably pretty controversial because this movie does have a slower pace, so it's not going to be for everybody. But I really think it's great. Ingrid Bergman as the daughter of this man who is turned out to be basically like a double agent, selling secrets and stuff like that to the Germans, I think it is. And she wants to prove, he's been put in prison, she wants to prove her loyalties to the United States. So she agrees to become basically like a double agent with one of her father's friends, played by Claude Rains, with the Cary Grant character, who's sort of in charge of her case or whatever. And so she goes and starts kind of befriending the Claude Rains character, and he ends up kind of falling in love with her. But she has to sort of pretend to be in a relationship with this Claude Rains character while also getting information for the bureau and for the Cary Grant character. Her and Cary Grant are in love, so you've got this sort of double thing going on. Then when the Claude Rains character figures out what is happening, and so it just, I think it's so great. It has one of the best like kissing scenes in the history of movies. That's so like passionate and tense and like great. I think they have such chemistry, Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant. And you really get to see a side of Cary Grant you sometimes don't see, of him feeling sort of desperate and not as confident as like he always is, because he can't control the situation of what's going on with the Ingrid Bergman character. And I don't know, I think it's so tense. There's this scene at this party with these sort of wine bottles that it's really great. So it's, like I said, I know everybody doesn't like it because it is kind of slower paced, but I love it. So 34 is Notorious. 33, I have Cinderella from Walt Disney, 1950. This is the movie kind of brought Disney back from the war years, and I love Cinderella as a story. You could probably include a ton of different versions of Cinderella in this place. It's pretty hard to make a version of Cinderella that I don't like. I know, I just like that whole message of like of hope in Cinderella. And I think the scene when her dress is destroyed in Cinderella is just so devastating. She's just been such a hopeful character, and she finally, that's it. She gives up. She can't do it anymore, and she just runs away. And it's so well done. And when the fairy godmother says, you know, if you had lost all hope, I wouldn't be here. And so she ends up getting a break, at least getting to go to the ball. And that whole scene is just delightful. All the songs are delightful. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, so great. And A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes. And I love all of the artwork. Mary Blair was a genius at her art. And yeah, I mean, I think the only scene, maybe we get a little too much of the king ranting and raving, but I love Eileen Woods as the voice of Cinderella. I think she's amazing. So yeah, I love Cinderella. I love the ending. I love Lady Tremaine as a villain. So great with her green eyes and having a cat named Lucifer. Great. So 33, Cinderella. 32, I have a movie probably not that many of you have heard of. It's called Afterlife. And this movie is by one of my favorite directors, Hirokazu Kor-eeda. And Afterlife is a really cool story. It's about the afterlife. And there's what in this world, when you die, you get sent to sort of a way station where you have to pick a memory that was sort of symbolic of your life. And you see all of these different people. Some people pick like Disneyland, and some people pick, these different things. And then, but you have these people who it's more of a struggle. That don't feel like that they lived a good life, and they don't have anything to choose. And you have people that can't decide, and going through all these things, and it's so lovely and it's so moving. And one of the things that Kor-eeda is so great at doing is he has such humanity for his characters and such love for his characters that I think he I don't know, there's just something about you're rooting for them, you want to learn about them because they're just so real and so lovely. And it doesn't have a ton of plot. It's more about setting and these characters, but I think that's what makes it really special. And so I think he's a great director. I can almost put just his work as the spot in my list, because every movie of his that I have seen, and I have not seen every single one, but Still Walking is so great. I love his Your Little Sister. That's great. So many of his movies that I've seen have just been lovely pictures of life. And so Afterlife is one of his best, and it's great. So check it out. 32, Afterlife. Number 31 on my list is When Harry Met Sally, directed by Rob Reiner and written by Nora Ephron, who's my favorite writer. Love Nora Ephron's dialogue. And I just think that the central question of this movie is, can men and women be friends? I think that's an interesting question, and I think it's explored quite well. I think kind of the answer is probably no, but it's not sure, because they were friends before they fell in love. So I don't know. It sort of leaves it kind of ambiguous, which I like. And Carrie Fisher is so great as the best friend. Meg Ryan, Billy Crystal, so great. I love how you just see the whole progression of their relationship. You see all this banter between the two of them that is so funny. It's so classic Nora Ephron. They're talking about movies, they're talking about art, and I love the scene with where Carrie with the table, the wagon wheel table. Carrie Fisher's like, I will never want your wagon wheel table, and I just think it's really funny and sweet, and I love the ending. And so there you go. I have When Harry Met Sally at 31. So this is a great list. I have Jaws at 40, The Incredibles 39, Amadeus at 38, Singing in the Rain at 37, Toy Story at 36, Paddington and Paddington 2 at 35, Notorious at 34, Cinderella at 33, Afterlife at 32, and When Harry Met Sally at 31. So there you go. That is this portion of the list. Next week, we'll be doing 30 to 21, and you'll really enjoy those as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to you guys all later. Thanks so much. Bye.